The transport shuttle rattled as it approached Galactic Research Station Nexus 7. Dr. Hana Kim pressed her face against the small window and watched the massive structure grow larger. The station looked like a giant metal flower floating in space. Its 6 arms stretched out from a central hub, each one bigger than most Earth buildings. Hana felt her stomach twist with nervousness. She had dreamed of this moment for years. After finishing her studies in xenobiology, she had applied to work. On the frontier stations, most humans never got the chance to work alongside alien species. But here she was, about to join a research team studying the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. The shuttle docked with a soft thud. Hana grabbed her single bag and followed, the other passengers out. The station corridor was huge, built to accommodate beings much larger than humans. The ceiling rose high above her head, and the walls curved away into the distance. She walked slowly, taking in everything around her. Alien beings moved through the corridors with purpose. A group of tall, gray-skinned creatures floated past her, their long limbs moving like they were swimming through air. Their large black eyes glanced at her briefly before looking away. Near the information desk, she saw her first Vakoth. The massive reptilian being stood at least 8 feet tall. His thick, scaled hide looked like armor plating. When he turned his head, Hana could see rows of sharp teeth behind his slightly open mouth. His yellow eyes scanned the area constantly, like a predator watching for threats. Hana checked her assignment tablet again. She was supposed to report to Bay 12 for the Kalos Prime expedition briefing. As she walked through the station, she noticed how other beings looked at her. Some seemed curious about the small human. Others barely noticed her at all. The corridor to Bay 12 was quieter than the main areas. Hana's footsteps echoed softly on the metal floor. She could hear voices coming from an open doorway ahead. As she got closer, she realized the voices belonged to different alien species. She couldn't understand all the languages, but she caught some words in Galactic Standard. "Another human joining the expedition," said a voice that sounded like clicking. "Insects! Why do they keep sending these fragile creatures to dangerous worlds?" replied another voice, deeper and rougher. Hana stopped just outside the doorway. Through the opening, she could see the briefing room. Several alien beings sat around a large table. At the head of the table stood a human man in a military uniform. He looked to be in his 40s, with short black hair and serious eyes. "The research data shows that human scientists have made valuable contributions to xenobiology studies," the human officer said. His voice carried authority. "Dr. Hana Kim has excellent credentials." A massive Vakoth at the table leaned back in his chair. The furniture groaned under his weight. "Captain Grendak means no disrespect to human intelligence," he said in heavily accented Standard, "but Kalos Prime is not place for weak beings." Hana felt her cheeks grow warm. She had expected some doubt from alien colleagues, but hearing it directly still stung. Another voice joined the conversation. This one sounded like wind chimes, musical and clear. "The Luminar agree with Vakoth assessment. Crystalline beings understand structural integrity. Human form appears insufficient for expedition requirements." Hana took a deep breath and stepped into the room. All conversation stopped. Every alien eye in the room focused on her. She felt incredibly small, surrounded by these massive beings. But she kept her back straight and her voice steady. "Dr. Hana Kim reporting for expedition duty," she said clearly. The human officer smiled and stepped forward. "Commander June Park," he said, extending his hand. "Welcome to the team, Dr. Kim." Hana shook his hand gratefully. At least one person here was glad to see her. Commander Park turned to address the room. "Let me introduce our team members. Captain Grendak leads our security detail." The massive Vakoth nodded his huge head, but said nothing. His yellow eyes studied Hana like she was a puzzle he couldn't solve. Dr. Vextal handles biological sampling and analysis, the insectoid being clicked, her mandibles together in what might have been a greeting. Her compound eyes reflected the room's lights like tiny mirrors. 4 thin arms moved constantly as she organized data tablets on the table. Engineer Quarith manages our equipment and communications. The crystalline being's body caught the light and scattered it in rainbow patterns across the walls. When she moved, tiny musical notes seemed to come from within her structure. And Dr. Taeho Shin is our other human team member. A younger man near the back of the room waved. He looked to be about Hana's age, with kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Commander Park activated a holographic display above the table. The image showed a green and blue planet covered in swirling clouds. Kalos Prime, he announced. Our mission is to study the apex predators known as Nexus Stalkers. These creatures are 12 feet tall, have 6 limbs, and can change their appearance to match their surroundings. The hologram shifted to show a fearsome creature. It looked like a cross between a big cat and a spider, with claws as long as kitchen knives. Its hide seemed to shift and ripple even in the still image. Previous expeditions have only managed distant observations, Commander Park continued. We need close-range behavioral studies to understand their hunting patterns and social structure. Captain, Grendak leaned forward. Dangerous work. Nexus stalkers kill for sport, not just food. Many expedition members have died on Kalos Prime. Dr. Vextel's mandibles clicked rapidly. Chithari analysis suggests human physiology unsuitable for close predator encounters. Recommend Dr. Kim remain at base camp for data processing duties. Hana felt her heart sink. She had not come all this way to sit in a safe building while others did the real work. But before she could speak, Commander Park raised his hand. Dr. Kim's expertise in predator behavior patterns makes her valuable for field work, he said firmly. She will participate in all expedition activities as planned. The aliens exchanged glances that clearly showed their doubt. Engineer Quarith's crystalline body chimed softly, a sound that seemed to express disapproval. Human determination admirable, Captain Grendak said slowly. But Kalos Prime does not care about determination. Only strength and speed matter when Nexus Stalker attacks. Dr. Taeho spoke up from his corner. Humans have survived on dangerous worlds before. We might look fragile, but we have our own strengths. Dr. Vextel's compound eyes focused on Hana. What strengths could small human possess against 12-foot predator with razor claws? Hana met the insectoid's gaze steadily. I guess we'll find out, she said quietly. The room fell silent again. Commander Park cleared his throat and continued with the mission briefing, but Hana could feel the doubt radiating from her alien teammates. They saw her small frame, her soft human features, and assumed she would be a liability. As the briefing ended and the team members filed out of the room, Hana remained seated. She stared at the holographic image of the Nexus Stalker, still rotating, slowly above the table. The creature looked deadly and magnificent at the same time. Dr. Taeho approached her as the room emptied. Don't let them get to you, he said quietly. They don't understand humans yet. Hana nodded and stood up. I didn't come this far to prove them right, she replied. Tomorrow they would depart for Kalos Prime. Tomorrow she would have her chance. To show these aliens that human strength came in many forms. The landing shuttle touched down on Kalos Prime with a heavy thud that shook everyone inside. Hana pressed her face to the small window and gasped at what she saw. The planet's surface looked like something from a dream. Massive trees stretched up toward the sky, their trunks glowing with soft blue and green light. Strange plants covered the ground, pulsing with different colors like living jewels. Beautiful, Dr. Taeho whispered from the seat next to her. And deadly. Commander Park stood up at the front of the shuttle. Remember your briefings, he called out. Nothing on this planet is safe to touch without proper testing. The air is breathable, but many of the plants produce toxic spores. Captain Grendak checked his heavy weapons one more time. The massive Vakoth warrior looked even more intimidating in his field gear. Thick armor plates covered his already tough hide, and multiple energy weapons hung from his belt. Dr. Vexatal gathered her scanning equipment with quick movements of her 4 arms. Her insectoid features showed no emotion, but her compound eyes darted constantly toward the windows. "Chithari sensors detect multiple large life forms in the immediate area," she announced. "Recommend establishing defensive perimeter immediately." Engineer Quarth's crystalline body hummed softly as she activated various monitoring devices. Her musical voice chimed, "Environmental readings within acceptable parameters. Communications with orbital station functioning normally." The shuttle. Door opened with a hiss. Hot, humid air rushed in, carrying strange scents of unknown flowers and something else that smelled like wet metal. Hannah breathed deeply and felt her heart race with excitement. This was what she had dreamed of her entire life. Captain Grendak stepped out first, his weapons ready. He scanned the area with his predator eyes before signaling the others to follow. The team moved carefully down the shuttle ramp onto the alien soil. The ground felt soft under Hannah's boots, covered with a carpet of small plants that glowed faintly when she stepped on them. Everywhere she looked, life seemed to pulse and move. Tiny flying creatures darted between the trees like living sparks of light. "Base camp location confirmed," Commander Park announced, pointing toward a cleared area about 50 meters away. "We set up there and begin operations at first light tomorrow." The team worked together to unload their equipment from the shuttle. Hannah tried to help carry the heavier items, but Captain Grendak gently pushed her aside and lifted a crate that would have taken 3 humans to move. "Small humans should carry light items only," he said. His tone was not unkind, but it clearly showed he thought she was too weak for heavy work. Dr. Vextal clicked her mandibles in agreement. "Chithari recommend human female remain in camp during dangerous operations. Data analysis important but safe work." Hannah felt frustration building in her chest, but she said nothing. She picked up one of the smaller equipment cases and followed. The others toward the campsite. As they walked, she noticed things the others missed. Small holes in the ground that looked like burrows. Claw marks on tree trunks at exactly the right height for a 6-limbed creature. Patches of disturbed earth where something large had passed recently. "The Nexus stalkers have been here," she said quietly to Dr. Tejo. "How can you tell?" he asked, looking around. Hannah pointed to a nearby tree. "See those scratches? They're too high for most ground animals, but exactly where a 12-foot-tall creature would mark territory. And those holes over there, they're escape burrows for smaller animals. Prey species always dig multiple exits when big predators are around." Dr. Tejo nodded with interest. "You can read the environment like a book." "It's what I trained for," Hannah replied. "Every species leaves signs of its behavior. You just have to know what to look for." By the time they finished setting up camp, the sun was getting low in the sky. The team gathered around a portable table to review their mission plans. Commander Park spread out a holographic map of the surrounding area. "Our target zone is here," he said, pointing to a valley about 2 kilometers away. "Orbital scans show regular Nexus stalker movement through this area. We'll observe their hunting patterns and social interactions." Captain Grendak studied the map with professional interest. "Good hunting ground for predators. Many water sources and prey animals. Also good place for ambush." Dr. Vexatal's scanner beeped softly. "Chithari detect life sign movement approaching camp perimeter. Distance approximately 100 meters. Everyone froze. Captain Grendak's hand moved to his weapon. "How large?" "Difficult to determine. Multiple contacts, varying sizes." The team watched the darkening forest around them. Somewhere in the distance, a sound like a deep bell echoed between the trees. Other sounds answered from different directions. "Nexus stalkers communicate over long distances," Hannah said softly. "They're probably just checking out the new arrivals." "How do you know that?" Engineer Quarth asked, her crystalline voice tight with concern. The call pattern, Hana explained. It's questioning, not aggressive. If they were hunting, the sounds would be different, shorter, sharper, more coordinated. Another call echoed. From the forest, this one closer. Captain Grendak raised his weapon. Maybe we should return to shuttle until morning. No, Hana said firmly. Running would mark us as prey. They're testing us, trying to understand what we are. If we act afraid, they'll see us as food. Commander Park looked at her with surprise. What do you recommend? We continue normal camp activities. Show them we're not prey animals. Make noise, use lights, act like we belong here. Dr. Vextal's mandibles clicked nervously. Chithari analysis suggests retreat to safe position. Trust. Me, Hana said. I've studied predator behavior my entire career. The worst thing we can do right now is show fear. The team spent the next hour setting up their research equipment while strange calls continued from the forest. Gradually, the sounds grew more distant. By full dark, the forest had grown quiet, except for normal night sounds. The human female was correct, Captain Grendak admitted grudgingly. Predators moved away when we showed no fear. Dr. Tejo smiled at Hana across the campfire. Nice work. But Hana noticed that the aliens still looked at her with doubt. They thought her success was just luck, not skill. She could see it in their eyes when they thought she wasn't watching. As the team prepared for sleep, Commander Park assigned watch duties. 2-person shifts, he announced. Grendak and Quarith take first watch. Vextal and I take second. Tejo and Hana take final watch before dawn. Captain Grendak frowned. Human females should sleep through night. Too dangerous for her to stand watch. I can handle it, Hana said quietly. Small human cannot fight Nexus Stalker if attack comes. During watch, the Vakoth warrior insisted. Maybe not, Hana replied, but I can see them coming before anyone else. Dr. Vexital's compound eyes focused on her. How can weak human see better than Chithari enhanced vision? Because I know what to look for, Hana answered. Predators follow patterns. They have favorite approaches, preferred attack times, specific behaviors before they strike. Experience matters more than strength sometimes. The aliens exchanged glances that clearly showed they didn't believe her. To them, she was still just a small, fragile human who would likely get everyone killed if real danger appeared. As Hana settled into her sleeping bag, she listened to the night sounds of Kalos Prime. Somewhere out there, the Nexus Stalkers were watching them. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. Tomorrow, she would have another chance to prove that humans brought more to the galaxy than just determination. She fell asleep to the sound of distant calls echoing through the glowing forest. The morning sun cast strange-colored shadows through the glowing trees as the expedition team prepared to enter Nexus Stalker territory. Hana checked her equipment one final time. Her backpack held scanning devices, sample containers, and emergency supplies. Unlike the others, she carried no weapons except a small emergency blade. Remember, we observe only, Commander Park reminded everyone. No direct contact with the creatures unless absolutely necessary. Captain Grendak adjusted his heavy armor and weapons. The massive Vakoth warrior looked like a walking fortress. If Nexus Stalkers attack, humans stay behind Vakoth protection, he ordered. Dr. Vextal's 4 arms moved quickly as she calibrated her biological scanners. Chithari detect multiple life signs ahead, large predators moving in coordinated patterns. Engineer Quarith's crystalline body hummed softly with electronic activity. All monitoring equipment functioning normally. Communication with base established. The team moved deeper into the forest, following a game trail that led toward the valley. Hana walked near the back of the group, constantly studying their surroundings. She noticed how the smaller animals had gone quiet. Birds had stopped singing. Even the insects seemed to have disappeared. We're getting close, she whispered to Dr. Tejo. How do you know? He asked. The silence, she explained. When apex, predators are hunting. Everything else hides. They reached the edge of a large clearing where a small stream ran through tall grass. Commander Park signaled for everyone to take cover behind fallen logs and thick bushes. Through her binoculars, Hannah could see movement on the far side of the clearing. There! Dr. Vextal clicked excitedly. 3 Nexus stalkers approaching water source. Hannah raised her own binoculars and felt her breath catch. The creatures were magnificent and terrifying. Each one stood 12 feet tall on 6 powerful limbs. Their hide shimmered and changed color to match their surroundings. When they moved, they seemed to flow like liquid shadow. Beautiful, Dr. Tejo whispered. Deadly, Captain Grendak corrected in a low growl. The team watched as the 3 Nexus stalkers moved to the stream to drink. They took turns, with one always watching for danger while the others lowered their heads to the water. Their movements were perfectly coordinated, like dancers performing a rehearsed routine. Pack behavior, Hannah observed quietly. They have clear social roles and communication. Dr. Vextal began recording biological data, while Engineer Quarith monitored their equipment. Everything was going perfectly according to plan. Then the grass behind the drinking Nexus stalkers exploded. A 4th creature burst from concealment, but this one was different. Larger, darker, with scars across its hide and eyes that burned with intelligence. It moved with speed that seemed impossible for something so massive. Alpha, Hannah breathed. That's an alpha male. The Alpha Nexus stalker attacked one of the smaller creatures without warning. The 2 beasts crashed together in a fury of claws and teeth. The other 2 stalkers scattered, disappearing into the tall grass. Territorial dispute, Dr. Vextal observed, her scanners working frantically. Alpha challenging younger male for hunting rights. The battle was brief, but violent. The Alpha's superior size and experience quickly overwhelmed the younger creature. Within moments, the challenger lay still on the ground. The Alpha stood over its defeated rival and let out a call that shook the trees. We got excellent data, Commander Park said quietly. Time to withdraw before... The Alpha's head snapped toward their hiding place. Its eyes locked directly onto their position. For a moment that seemed to last forever, predator and prey stared at each other across the clearing. It knows we're here, Hannah whispered. The Alpha Nexus stalker began moving toward them. Its gait was unhurried but purposeful. This was not fear or curiosity. This was a predator that had decided to hunt. Back to base camp, Commander Park ordered. Move now. The team began retreating through the forest, trying to move quickly but quietly. Behind them, they could hear the Alpha crashing through the undergrowth. It was not trying to hide anymore. It was simply following them with the patience of a creature that knew its prey could not escape. It's hurting us, Hannah realized. Pushing us toward something. Toward what? Dr. Tejo asked as they climbed over a fallen log. Before Hannah could answer, the forest around them exploded into motion. The 2 smaller Nexus stalkers burst from concealment on both sides of the trail. The Alpha had driven them into an ambush. Defensive positions, Captain Grendak roared, raising his weapons. Chaos erupted. The Nexus stalkers moved with terrifying speed and coordination. They had done this many times before. Captain Grendak opened fire with his energy weapons, forcing one of the creatures to dodge behind a large tree. Dr. Vextal scrambled for higher ground, her scanner equipment forgotten. Commander Park drew his sidearm and tried to establish a fighting position, but the Alpha Stalker was already moving to flank them. The massive creature's hide rippled and changed, making it hard to track as it moved between the trees. Stay together, Park shouted over the noise of weapons fire, but the Nexus stalkers were too smart for simple tactics. They split up, attacking from 3 different directions at once. Captain Grendak engaged the Alpha directly, his heavy weapons, finally forcing the massive predator to take cover. That's when the second stalker made its move. The creature came out of the tall grass like a living shadow, moving low and fast. Its target was clear, Commander Park, who was reloading his weapon. The human officer saw death approaching and raised his arm to protect himself. The Nexus stalker's claws raked across Park's chest and arm, sending him crashing into a tree. He hit the ground hard and lay still, blood spreading across his uniform. "Commander down!" Dr. Tejo yelled. Captain Grendak turned his attention to the creature that had attacked Park. The Vakoth warrior let out a battle roar that echoed through the forest and charged directly at the Nexus stalker. His massive form collided with the predator in a crash that shook the ground, but the Alpha was still moving. While Grendak fought one creature, the Alpha circled around behind him. By the time the Vakoth warrior realized his mistake, it was too late. The Alpha Nexus stalker struck from behind with precision and power. Its claws found gaps in Grendak's armor, and its massive weight drove the warrior to the ground. The two giants rolled through the undergrowth, each trying to gain advantage. Grendak was strong and experienced, but the Alpha was fighting on its home ground. The predator knew exactly how to use the terrain, the trees, and its own superior agility. The battle ended suddenly. The Alpha's claws found their mark, and Captain Grendak went limp. The massive Vakoth warrior hit the ground and did not get up again. The remaining Nexus stalkers stood over their prey, breathing hard from the fight. One was wounded from Grendak's weapons. The Alpha had deep cuts along its side, but they had won. Then, as quickly as the attack had begun, the creatures melted back into the forest. They had made their point. This was their territory, and the aliens were not welcome. The surviving team members stared at the aftermath in shocked silence. Commander Park lay unconscious against a tree, his breathing shallow and rapid. Captain Grendak was motionless on the ground, his armor cracked and bloodied. "Are they—" Dr. Tejo's voice trailed off. Dr. Vexatal scuttled over to check on the wounded. "Commander Park alive but seriously injured." "Captain Grendak?" She paused, her scanners working. "Also alive, barely. Critical condition. Engineer Quarith's crystalline..." Body chimed with distress. "Communication equipment damaged in fight. Cannot contact base or orbital station." The reality of their situation settled over them like a cold fog. They were stranded in hostile territory with two critically wounded team members and no way to call for help. And somewhere in the forest around them, 3 Nexus stalkers were deciding whether to finish what they had started. The forest around them had grown quiet again, but it was the wrong kind of quiet. Hana knew the Nexus stalkers were still out there, watching and waiting. She knelt beside Commander Park, checking his wounds while Dr. Vextal examined Captain Grendak. "Commander has deep cuts but no vital organs damaged," Hana reported. "He needs medical attention, but he'll survive if we can get him treatment." Dr. Vextal's mandibles clicked rapidly as her scanners worked over the massive Vakoth warrior. "Captain Grendak condition much worse. Internal injuries, possible spine damage. Without immediate surgery, he will die." The weight of the situation settled over the team. They were kilometers from base camp, with no communication and 2 critically wounded members. Darkness was approaching, and the nocturnal predators of Kalos Prime were much worse than anything they had encountered during the day. "We need to move them," Dr. Tejo said, looking nervously at the deepening shadows between the trees. Engineer Quarith's crystalline body hummed with worry. "Movement could worsen injuries, but staying here means certain death when night hunters emerge." Hana looked at Captain Grendak's still form. The Vakoth warrior was massive, easily 8 feet tall and probably weighing over 800 pounds. His thick armor and equipment added even more weight. Even healthy, it would take multiple team members working together to move him safely. 4 people minimum to carry Grendak safely, Dr. Vexatal stated after consulting her medical scanners. "But we only have 4 people total, including wounded commander." 3 people then, Dr. Tejo suggested. "We can manage if we work together." Dr. Vextal shook her head. 3 people carrying 800 pounds through rough terrain while night predators hunt us? Impossible. We would all die. Then what do you suggest? Dr. Tejo asked. We make defensive position here, Engineer Quarith chimed sadly. Wait for rescue team to find us tomorrow. Commander Park won't last the night without treatment, Hana said firmly, and neither will Captain Grendak. The team fell into grim silence. The mathematics of survival were brutal and simple. They couldn't safely move their wounded companions, but staying meant watching them die slowly while fighting off nocturnal predators. Hana walked over to their scattered equipment and began gathering pieces of metal framework and synthetic rope. Her movements were quick and purposeful, like she had suddenly made an important decision. What are you doing? Dr. Tejo asked. Making a travois, Hana replied without looking up. A dragging platform. If I can't lift Captain Grendak, I'll drag him. The alien stared at her in amazement. Dr. Vextal's compound eyes focused intently on the small human woman. Chithari analysis shows impossible. Human female weighs perhaps 50 kilograms. Cannot move object 15 times her own weight. Watch. Me, Hana said quietly. She worked quickly, using equipment framework to create a sturdy platform and attaching synthetic rope in a harness configuration. Her hands moved with the confidence of someone who had studied engineering principles and understood leverage and mechanical advantage. Even with optimal leverage, task remains impossible, Engineer Quarith observed, her musical voice filled with doubt. Crystalline beings understand structural physics. Small human lacks necessary strength. Hana ignored the comments and continued working. She positioned the travois next to Captain Grendak and began the careful process of rolling his massive form onto the platform. Dr. Tejo moved to help, but she waved him away. Save your strength, she told him. I'll need you to help defend the group during the journey. Hana. This is insane, Dr. Tejo protested. Even if you could drag him, it's over 2 kilometers through hostile terrain. Then we better get started, she replied, adjusting the rope harness around her shoulders and chest. Commander Park had regained consciousness and was watching her preparations with growing concern. Dr. Kim, I order you to reconsider. This plan will get you killed. Respectfully, sir. Staying here will get everyone killed, Hana answered. At least this way, some of us have a chance. She leaned into the harness and pulled. The travois moved slightly, scraping against the ground. Captain Grendak's massive weight created tremendous resistance, but the platform did move. The aliens watched in stunned silence as this small human woman began the seemingly impossible task. Human determination admirable but foolish, Dr. Vextal observed. Physics cannot be overcome by willpower alone. Hana found her rhythm, using her whole body to generate pulling force. Her legs drove against the ground while her arms and back worked the harness. It was exhausting work, but the travois continued moving steadily through the forest. She's actually doing it, Dr. Tejo whispered in amazement. The team began moving through the forest as darkness fell around them. Hana led the way, pulling Captain Grendak's massive form behind her. The other team members flanked her, carrying Commander Park between them and watching for predators. The work was brutal. Every root, rock, and fallen log became a major obstacle. Hana had to use every trick she knew about angles, leverage, and momentum to keep the travois moving. Sweat poured down her face despite the cooling night air. Rest stop needed, Dr. Vextal announced after they had traveled about half a kilometer. Human female shows signs of dangerous exhaustion. I'm fine, Hana panted, but she accepted a water bottle from Dr. Tejo gratefully. You're not fine, he said quietly. Your heart rate is dangerously high and you're burning through energy. Reserves too fast. Then I better work faster, she replied, getting back into position. As they resumed their journey, the night sounds of Kalos Prime began around them. Strange calls echoed between the trees. Something large crashed through the underbrush in the distance. Engineer Quoreth's sensors detected multiple life forms moving parallel to their route. Predators following us, she chimed nervously. They smell wounded prey. Let them follow, Hana said through gritted teeth. They'll have to catch us first. The aliens could not understand what they were witnessing. By every logical analysis, the task should have been impossible. Yet this small human female continued, pulling her massive burden through hostile terrain hour after hour without stopping. Human physiology defies Chithari understanding, Dr. Vextal muttered, studying her scanner readings. Endurance levels should not be possible. Dr. Tejo smiled despite their desperate situation. You're seeing something the galaxy doesn't understand about humans yet. We don't know when to quit. Behind them, glowing eyes appeared between the trees. The night predators were getting closer, drawn by the scent of blood and the sound of movement. Whatever was following them was patient, but persistent. Movement detected on all sides, Engineer Quoreth reported. We are being surrounded, Hana. Just leaned harder into the harness and kept pulling. 1 step at a time, 1 meter at a time, dragging 800 pounds of unconscious Vakoth warrior towards safety. The impossible task had become her entire world. The base camp was still, over 1 kilometer away, and the hunters of Kalos Prime were closing in. 3 hours into the night journey, Hana's legs shook with exhaustion, but she refused to stop. The travois scraped steadily over roots and stones as she pulled Captain Grendak's massive weight deeper into the forest. Behind them, the sounds of following predators grew louder and more frequent. Contacts closing distance, Engineer Quoreth reported, her crystalline body flickering with sensor data. Multiple large life forms maintaining parallel course. Dr. Vextal's scanners painted a grim picture. Chithari analysis shows at least 6 different predator signatures. Pack hunters coordinating attack pattern. The team had managed to improvise a stretcher for Commander Park, carrying him between Dr. Tejo and Dr. Vextal. The human officer drifted in and out of consciousness, but when he was awake, his eyes followed Hana with amazement. How is she still moving? He whispered to Dr. Tejo. I don't know, Tejo replied honestly. By every medical standard, she should have collapsed an hour ago. Hana heard their conversation but didn't waste energy responding. She had found a rhythm that worked, using her entire body as one coordinated system. Her legs drove against the ground in steady steps. Her back and shoulders transferred power to the harness. Her arms helped balance and steer around obstacles. The technique came from something deeper than training. It was the ancient human gift for endurance hunting, the ability to pursue prey across vast distances until it collapsed from exhaustion. But now she was using that same relentless persistence to save a life instead of take one. Water break, Dr. Tejo called out. You need hydration. Hana shook her head. We stop when we reach base camp. Human female will die from exhaustion before reaching safety, Dr. Vextal observed clinically. Recommend abandoning impossible task. Not happening, Hana panted. A low growl echoed from the darkness to their left. Something large moved between the trees, just at the edge of their light sources. Then an answering call came from their right side. The predators were positioning themselves for an attack. They're getting ready to strike, Dr. Tejo warned. Engineer Quoreth's sensors showed the tactical situation clearly. Surrounded by hostile contacts, recommend finding defensive position immediately. No, Hana said firmly. We keep moving. If we stop, we're dead. A pair of glowing eyes appeared in the forest ahead of them, blocking their path. The creature they belonged to was huge, easily as large as a Nexus stalker but built differently. Lower to the ground, with a longer body and more legs. A night hunter perfectly adapted for stalking prey in darkness. The beast studied them with intelligent eyes, calculating odds and weaknesses. Its gaze lingered on Hana, trying to understand why such a small creature was doing the work of several larger beings. Dr. Tejo raised his emergency weapon, but Hana spoke quietly without stopping her steady pace. Don't shoot unless it attacks. Predators respect strength and confidence. We show fear. We become prey. She walked directly toward the massive night hunter, pulling Captain Grendak behind her. The creature watched her approach with what looked like curiosity. Here was something it had never encountered before, a tiny being that refused to act like prey. For a long moment, human and alien predator stared at each other. Then the night hunter stepped aside, letting them pass. It had decided these strange creatures were not worth the risk of injury. Impossible, Dr. Vextall clicked in amazement. Apex predator yielded to weak human female. She's not weak, Dr. Tejo said quietly. She's something else entirely. The other predators following them had witnessed the encounter. One by one, they melted back into the forest. Whatever these strange beings were, they had earned a measure of respect from the hunters of Kalos Prime. Hana kept walking, dragging her impossible burden step by step through the alien night. Her body screamed for rest, but her mind refused to acknowledge the pain. Captain Grendak's life depended on her reaching base camp. That was the only fact that mattered. Hours passed. The alien team members took turns helping carry Commander Park, but none of them offered to help with Captain Grendak again. They had realized something important. This was not just about moving a wounded comrade. This was about witnessing something fundamental about human nature. Why won't you let us help? Dr. Tejo asked during their 4th hour of travel. Because you need to save your strength for fighting, Hana replied without breaking stride. And because I can do this. But why do you have to do it alone? Hana was quiet for several steps before answering. Because sometimes the impossible is just something no one has been stubborn enough to try yet. Engineer Quarith's sensors detected the base camp's beacon still over a kilometer ahead. At their current pace, it would take another 2 hours to reach safety. The crystalline being ran calculations on human endurance limits and came to a troubling conclusion. Biological systems approaching critical failure, she chimed with concern. Human female cannot maintain current effort level much longer. Then, I better hurry, Hana said, somehow finding a way to pull slightly harder. Dr. Vexatal studied her medical readings in fascination. Chithari science cannot explain observed performance. Humans should have collapsed hours ago. Human science can't explain it either, Dr. Tejo admitted. This is something beyond normal physiology. As the 6th hour of their journey began, Hana entered a state that marathon runners sometimes experienced. Her conscious mind stepped back, and something deeper took control. Her breathing became perfectly rhythmic. Her steps fell into an efficient pattern that wasted no energy. She became a machine designed for one purpose: moving forward. The aliens watched in silent awe as this small human woman demonstrated capabilities they had never imagined possible. She was not the strongest being in the galaxy, or the fastest, or the most intelligent. But she possessed something rarer and more powerful, the absolute refusal to give up. Behind them, the forest had grown quiet again. Even the night predators seemed to recognize they were witnessing something extraordinary. The hunters of Kalos Prime had learned to respect many things: size, speed, cunning, and aggression. But they had never encountered anything like human determination before. As dawn began to lighten the sky ahead of them, Engineer Quarith's sensors finally detected what they had all been hoping for. "Base camp beacon confirmed," she announced. "Distance 800 meters and decreasing." Hana didn't respond, but her pace quickened slightly. After 8 hours of continuous effort, after dragging 800 pounds through hostile alien terrain, after proving the impossible was just another word for difficult, she could see their destination. The other team members looked at each other with something approaching reverence. They had begun this mission thinking they understood human limitations. Now they realized they understood nothing about humans at all. Dr. Tejo smiled despite their exhaustion and danger. "Wait until the galaxy hears about this," he said softly. Ahead of them, base camp's lights grew brighter in the pre-dawn darkness. Hana Kim, all 5 feet and 2 inches of her, pulled her impossible burden toward safety one final time. The base camp medical facility hummed with activity as Dr. Vextal and the automated medical systems worked to save Captain Grendak and Commander Park. Hana sat on a medical bed, her body finally allowing itself to feel the full impact of what she had accomplished. Every muscle ached, her hands were raw from the harness ropes, and her legs shook with exhaustion, but both wounded team members were alive. Surgical procedures successful, Dr. Vextal announced after 6 hours of intensive work. Commander Park, we'll make full recovery. Captain Grendak injuries severe but not fatal. Both beings owe lives to human female persistence. Engineer Quarith approached Hana's bedside, her crystalline form chiming softly with what sounded like music. Luminari have no cultural concept for what human accomplished. No words exist in our language for such determination. Dr. Tejo handed Hana a warm drink and sat down beside her. The preliminary report is going to shock every xenobiologist in the galaxy. A 50-kilogram human dragging an 800-pound Vakoth warrior through hostile terrain for 8 hours straight. It wasn't about the weight, Hana said quietly. It was about not giving up on someone who needed help. 3 days later, Captain Grendak was well enough to leave the medical facility. The massive Vakoth warrior approached Hana slowly, his movements still careful due to healing injuries. His yellow eyes studied her with an expression she had never seen from him before, respect mixed with something approaching awe. Captain Grendak owes life debt to human female, he said formally. By Vakoth honor codes, this debt can never be repaid. You don't owe me anything, Hana replied. We're teammates. We take care of each other. The alien warrior shook his great head. Human does not understand. Vakoth culture teaches that strength determines worth, but human female showed strength beyond Vakoth comprehension. Not strength of muscle or claw, strength of spirit. He performed. What Hana later learned was the highest formal salute in Vakoth military tradition. Captain Grendak was wrong about human capabilities. We'll never underestimate human determination again. Dr. Vextal approached with a data pad containing her research notes. Chithari analysis of human performance during rescue operation defies biological understanding. Endurance levels exceeded theoretical maximum by factor of 3. How is that possible? Dr. Tejo asked. Unknown, Dr. Vextal admitted. Human physiology appears capable of temporary performance increases when protecting others. Chithari science has no explanation for observed phenomenon. Engineer Quarith's crystalline body produced a complex harmonic pattern. Luminari will compose songs about human female's deed. Such determination will be remembered in our cultural archives for thousands of cycles. I just did what anyone would do, Hana said, uncomfortable with the attention. No, Commander Park said from his own medical bed. You did what humans do. The rest of the galaxy is just learning what that means. Over the following weeks, word of the rescue spread through the research station and beyond. Alien species that had dismissed humans as weak and fragile began asking questions. How could such small beings accomplish seemingly impossible tasks? What other capabilities did humans possess that the galaxy had overlooked? The research mission itself had been a massive success. Not only had they gathered valuable data about Nexus stalker behavior, but they had also discovered something far more important, the true nature of human endurance and determination. Captain Grendak requested transfer to human-majority expeditions. Vakoth warrior wishes to learn more about human methods, he explained. Small humans accomplish what large warriors cannot. This knowledge valuable for future missions. Dr. Vextal began a comprehensive study of human physiology, focusing on the biological mechanisms that allowed for extreme endurance performance. Her preliminary findings suggested that humans possessed unique adaptations for long-distance persistence that other species lacked. Engineer Quareth designed new equipment specifically scaled for human use, recognizing that humans brought capabilities to dangerous missions that larger, stronger species could not match. The final mission report, filed with Galactic Research Command, became required reading for all multi-species expedition leaders. The document included a new section titled Human Capabilities Assessment that fundamentally changed how other species viewed humanity's role in dangerous operations. 6 months later, Hannah found herself leading a new expedition to study the predators of Kepler 442b. Her team included volunteers from 5 different species, all specifically requesting to work with the human who dragged the Vakoth warrior. As their transport ship approached the dangerous world, her alien teammates looked to her not with doubt or skepticism, but with genuine curiosity about what other impossible things humans might be capable of accomplishing. Dr. Kim asked her, new Vakoth security chief, a younger warrior named Thorak, if mission encounters extreme danger, what should non-human team members expect from human leadership? Hannah smiled and looked out at the hostile planet growing larger in their viewport. Expect us to keep going when everyone else thinks it's impossible, she said. Expect us to carry you home if we have to. The alien team members exchanged glances of understanding. They had heard the stories. They knew that humans were not the strongest species in the galaxy, or the fastest, or the most intelligent. But they had learned something more important. Humans were the species that never gave up. As the transport prepared for landing, Hannah reflected on how much had changed since that first day at Research Station Nexus 7. The aliens no longer saw her as a fragile creature who needed protection. They saw her as something far more valuable, a being whose determination could overcome any obstacle. The galaxy had always been full of strong species, fast species, and smart species. But it had been waiting, without knowing it, for a species that simply refused to quit. Dr. Vextal's final research note, published in the Galactic Journal of Xenobiology, summarized the discovery perfectly. Human endurance capabilities appear limited only by the importance of their goal. When protecting others, humans demonstrate performance levels that exceed all known biological parameters. Recommend immediate revision of human species capability assessments. The expedition landed on Kepler 442b under alien suns, but this time, nobody questioned whether the small human scientist could handle whatever dangers lay ahead. They had learned better than to underestimate the species that dragged wounded warriors through hostile forests, simply because it was the right thing to do. As Hannah stepped onto another alien world with her team following confidently behind her, she smiled at the thought that the galaxy was finally beginning to understand what humans were truly capable of accomplishing. Not through strength or speed or intelligence alone, but through the simple, stubborn refusal to abandon those who needed help. The universe was vast and dangerous, filled with predators and hostile environments that could kill the unwary. But now it also contained something new, the knowledge that somewhere among the stars there was a species that would walk through hell itself rather than leave a teammate behind. And sometimes that made all the difference.